It's lunchtime at CoinGeek Conference New York. Holy cow, what a morning. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody, so far. So as everybody's milling about looking for sandwiches or delightful deli items in lovely Times Square, where it's about time for Bitcoin SV, we're here. This is CoinGeek TV, and I am your lunchtime host, Wuckert Jr., joined by Eric Bernhard from Fabriik. How you doing, sir?
Amazing, Kurt.
NFTs and gaming. NFTs and gaming. This is what keeps coming up. Aren't we blessed that you are an NFT fellow? Let's talk a little bit about FabriikX. We just saw Rory McDonald, one panel previously, auctioning off his first NFT on the BSV blockchain, and very exciting stuff. What do you do at Fabriik? What's your story? Tell us a little bit about FabriikX, please.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you a little bit about Fabriik, and then I'll tell you a little bit about FabriikX. So Fabriik is a digital financial services company that bridges the gap between B2B and B2C companies to provide essentially a complete liquidity ecosystem. And that manifests in things like Weave API, which we'll talk a little bit about today. It manifests as a trading API, but it also manifests as trading desks, OTC desks, and other services like Money Button and tokenization, and very excitingly, FabriikX, which is an NFT marketplace that is expertly curated. And so what we want to do with FabriikX is bring this model of curation to build culturally relevant collections. And we're so excited that Rory and all the art at the charity event was minted on-chain through FabriikX. All the content, all the images, all the videos on-chain, and only possible through BSV. Super exciting.
And that's crucial. I think a lot of people don't understand that when they buy an Ethereum NFT or somewhere else, that the artwork, the thing that people seem to think they're buying, is actually sitting on Amazon Web Service or IPFS. And we've seen reports over the last 6 to 12 months of people losing that piece of art that in many cases they paid thousands or sometimes millions of dollars for.
Yeah, I know.
Can you explain how is FabriikX putting the image on chain? Like, what does that process look like technologically, and what does it look like to the user?
Absolutely. So we work with a couple of partners in the BSV community that are miners and things like that to make sure that we could mint directly to the blockchain. And so we put all the content, not just the metadata, including including the actual art. And so if it's a video, then when you're opening up the transaction ID, you're seeing the code for that video, whether it's an MP4 or a GIF or a JPEG or just audio. It doesn't matter. We can put it all on chain. And so we're super excited. And right now we're starting with we're working on 16 megs, right? Which is 10, 100x, 160x bigger than most blockchains, or maybe even 500x than Ethereum, right? And that is giving extra value, because we don't think that you should buy. When you're buying art, you don't buy a piece of paper that says you own this art that's stored in this custody environment in a bunker in some country.
Some people might.
Some people might, but you should be able to. You buy the art, you get the art.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. The artwork, looking at it, was high resolution, at least from my perspective. The art of Rory looked fantastic. It was a beautiful piece of digitally painted and all of that. Did you say 16 megabyte was is that the limit? The
That's
file
where
size?
We're starting with that.
Okay.
We're starting with 16 megs, and we're going to be building more and more and more. The goal is to get to that gig. I want to be able to put a full feature film on chain.
I love it.
That's the goal.
Very cool. So I imagine you're in talks with miners about getting those fees down, because I'm trying to think gigabytes and gigabytes. At half a sat per byte. Sorry, we're getting a little technical here, but at some point we got to bring the cost per byte down in order to put bigger and bigger media up there.
Absolutely.
That's something your engineers have to be working on.
Yes, we're working on that very diligently, and I think that one of the things that we're thinking about is maybe we shard across blocks, right, to keep the cost low. But the goal is to work with the miners to make sure that the nodes can handle the volume. And so we're working very closely, and we don't want to provide congestion to the network, right? And I think that that's the key. And the stuff that Steve Shatters was talking about and how important it is to build on it and grow the network is exactly the conversations that we've been having. And we don't want to, again, provide unnecessary congestion, but at the same time, we want to stick to our mantra of on-chain.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to us. And so so we're definitely working with miners to make sure the rates are low. But even if we take that and extrapolate on that, if you put a gig on chain on BSV, it's going to cost you what, maybe $20, $30?
Yeah.
Maybe,
like
right?
Yeah, if that.
If you tried to do, first of all, you couldn't. It's not a
Right.
conversation, but let's say you could,
Yeah.
right? On Ethereum, it probably will cost you $1 million.
Yeah.
To mint a $3 NFT. And so it doesn't make sense. And
Sure.
that's why you can only do this on BSV.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal, and to make sure that we can, and then the other piece is that we also want to make it accessible. So the cost per transaction needs to be low enough so that we can offer NFTs that are baselining at $3.
Yeah.
You don't see that anywhere else, right? You might see, like 0.1 ETH or something like that, but that's not $3.
No.
You can't and then because of that, it's not accessible to artists, it's not accessible to content partners, but it's also not accessible to people that want to enter in. So it's only people that have a bunch of Ethereum, that have invested, they had to pay on-ramp fees that are in excess, they had to move it to random wallet after wallet after wallet to get it to a place where they actually can spend it.
Sure.
And that costs money, and all that money is just burned.
Well, and not to mention people in the developing world. Half this planet, the rung is too high for them to even participate in what's supposed to be this digital disruption.
Exactly, right? And think about artists. Artists are not wealthy people to start.
Right.
Starving artist is the real thing. And so how do you expect them to become not starving if you're charging them 10 times the cost to just create something that they've already spent hours and hours creating? It doesn't make sense. It's the opposite of accessible, in our opinion.
So a word that stuck out to me was curation. That strikes me as a business decision over at Fabriik.
Yeah.
What does that mean, curation in the NFT marketplace with FabriikX?
Yeah, so this comes back to our mantra of FabriikX is expertly curated. And I know that sounds like that's marketing speak, right? And so I'll step outside of my marketer brain for a second and say, I think that every NFT needs to have cultural relevance. And that cultural relevance is not determined by Fabriik. It's determined by experts in the space like yourself. Actually, Kurt, you would make a perfect curator.
Oh boy.
All right, and on air, I want to know, would you be willing to be one of our curators?
Oh my goodness. Well, now I'm going to blush. I'd be honored. I would love to have a first look and jump in on it.
That'd be brilliant. And so as a curator, what you do is you decide what NFTs would be relevant and what themes are relevant to the community.
Sure.
And then because you talk to lots of people and you know lots of things, we want you to bring your knowledge and say, these are the moments that are culturally relevant to my community. It's not for us to decide.
Yeah.
It's for people like you to decide, because you talk to people in the community. You're in the community. You are the epitome of a perfect curator for this community. And so, if you think they're important, then the community thinks they're important, and that means that it's more likely to have access and bring these brilliant art. Or it doesn't even need to be art. It could be a blog post. It could be a tweet, right? We've seen it doesn't matter. As long as it's original, that's what matters. Original and culturally relevant. And those are the two pieces that curators bring and the value that they bring.
For sure. So is this all available today? We saw FabriikX on screen.
Yeah.
I did bid on the Rory McDonald piece.
Yeah.
I think I got outbid in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But I tried to throw some behind it. It's all ready to rock and roll?
Yeah.
How do you start?
So it's all ready to rock and roll. The piece that we're doing, so in terms of the way that we do it is we're starting off with NFTs for the charity event. We didn't want to add too many because we want people to really focus on delivering value to this charity. And so, all of them are minted on chain. And then the next step is just waiting for the next drop, which is going to happen in November. It's going to be a big name celebrity. It's a household name. So it's not about, some small community person that might not, that you're going to Google and you'll find, LinkedIn profile. It's a household name. You'll know who this person is and the other people that surround them. And the goal is to have that available to the world. And we're going to lean into this concept of tiers. And the tiers change in terms of rarity. And so from one of one, which is one of one, to a community edition, which is one of 3,000 or 5,000, depending on what the artist or celebrity chooses. And so we want to make sure that that bottom level is accessible and that it doesn't cost you $40 or $500 to buy that $3 NFT.
Brilliant.
And then we're going to lean into gamification so that you can grow within the Fabriik community and the FabriikX community to be able to access certain things, so exclusive events or exclusive message boards, and you can get in at the community level. And if you get enough community tokens and enough cachet within that community, you increase, so you get sort of entered into a raffle or a draw to get the next level of rarity. So we're allowing people to, it's almost like the moving socioeconomic classes within the small community.
Right, no, absolutely.
All the way up to this one of one.
Fascinating. A producer's telling me in my ear, I heard Estrelita Brodsky may have outbid or has the winning bid right now, or the leading bid. On the Rory McDonald piece. And for those who don't know, Estrelita Brodsky is a New York exclusive art purchaser and reseller. So looks like you've made some waves here.
Yeah, we're really excited. At the charity event, we had Adrian have an NFT on there, which is already at $5,600 and going up. And we're excited to just be able to bring some money to the charity and showcase what FabriikX can do. And like for us, it's about time to have products that people are using and they love.
For sure.
And we're super excited about that.
Awesome. We're going to touch ever so slightly on Fabriik Weave. I believe Roy is going to be debuting something about it tomorrow.
Absolutely. Tomorrow morning.
A Changelly competitor, as I understand it.
Yeah, exactly. And so the Fabriik Weave is a simple, easy to use, easy onboarding, crypto to crypto transaction service.
Love it. I have to cut to a video. Claire went and did an on-site, shot some really interesting information about NFTs out in the field. Let's cut to Claire.
The NFT revolution isn't just a fad. After rising to mainstream popularity earlier this year, we see NFTs selling for millions of dollars, and the world is taking notice. But the narrative shifted since, with skeptics saying that the NFT bubble was going to pop. But there's no sign of that happening anytime soon. What we do know is that NFTs are alive and well and continue to thrive. The sale prices may have already reached its peak, but that's not the driving force for developers over at BSV, who continue to work hard in developing tokens that are not just fun and unique, but also have real utility. Let's take a look at some of them. Metabot by the ShowPay team is one of the newer tokens gaining traction among NFT fans. Metabots are on-chain robot avatars that can be equipped as a user's profile picture in the suite of applications via the Show app. By adding this feature, Metabots are poised to have more utility than 99% of NFTs created thus far. The next one is a platform designed to be a one-stop shop for art NFTs. Bullish Art is an online NFT art gallery that curates the works of talented contemporary artists. With Bullish Art, artists and collectors have guaranteed authenticity and traceability, ensuring that only a single copy of a particular artwork exists, as it is minted through Bullish Art and exclusively tokenized on only one chain. Bullish Art is one of first art curation team to mint on BSV. And my third and last pick is the Gorilla DAO coin. Only a few NFTs have a physical delivery of an item in addition to the digital delivery of the item, and the Gorilla DAO is one of them. Owners can also choose to trade the NFTs in a secondary market if they want to. The coin design won't be minted again once the current batch sells out. The design is rare and limited. and was exclusively created by one of the best digital artists on Bitcoin, Diego Rodriguez.
Is that Buddha?
What a flawless live reading, Claire. That was really, really good, right along with the clip show there. I'm impressed. We're here with Jack Pitts, John Pitts, John Jack Pitts from SLictionary. Heck of a presentation this morning, sir.
Oh, well, thank you.
So you brought up some really interesting stuff. You're an old Wall Street guy.
Hey, who are you calling old?
And you're a young, vibrant Wall Street guy
Inside,
with
I'm young.
experience in money markets and stuff like that. But you made a really interesting point about the investment, the asymmetric investment in BSV, but you focused on information. I'd love to walk back through that if we could.
Yeah, I think the fun part is, like I was saying in the speech, NFTs are popular, and I don't really know how to value art that well, but if you have an NFT that's in your pocket making you money, like income, it's similar to like real estate or a stock paying you a dividend. You don't care too much, you don't care as much whether the price goes down. And I realize the stock market's changed a lot. 100 years ago, the reason you bought a stock was the dividend. And the price kind of fluctuated a little bit, but it was the dividend, it was that interest rate you were looking for and hoping that the company could continue to pay it. And I think in our case, for instance, SLictionary definitions, we're going to give people NFTs that take up space on the blockchain, and that has a cost. And so if I put your NFT on $1.50 and it's not actually worth anything, it's a dud, we give you the $1.50 back. And so you have to make that economic decision at all times. Do I want the $1.50 or is this NFT really valuable? And so it can still be art. Like I was saying, with something like a definition from Craig, probably would earn a little bit of money, well, probably earn a decent amount, but it would actually probably end up being worth more from the artistic kind of collectible standpoint. So it's not that I'm against collectibles or anything, but these cash flows change everything because, like I said, if you own BSV and it was paying you a dividend, you wouldn't care as much that it went down in price because the dividend wouldn't change. Mm-hmm. And so your yield would actually get higher. And I think this is a point that's lost a lot, even on modern Wall Street, because we just don't have, the bond guys all know this.
Yeah.
This is nothing new to them, but in equity and cryptocurrency, they have no idea.
Sure. I mean, there's a little bit in the DEX space, the people that are looking to yield farm.
The DeFi,
like
yeah,
that.
a little bit.
So, yeah, you always make that analogy about being on the coin. Like you have a very unique analogy that you use, and I think it's because you think about tokens a little differently than other people do. Mm-hmm. Can we take one step deeper into that and talk about the value of the Satoshis you've locked into a token as part of this dividend process?
Yeah. So you're locking. The difference in the token technology is this. First, we start off with false return, right, for all the tech people out there. And false returns was great at the time, but it was a little bit of a hack, and we needed it because in February 2020, it took a couple years from Bitcoin Cash in 17 all the way through Genesis when the scripting language was restored.
Yeah.
And I don't think we took it we took it seriously in BSV, but I don't even think we took it seriously enough because script really does change everything. And script is what allowed STOS tokens to exist, and they could not exist before Genesis. And so once you have this mentality of, well, if you want to be on chain, you have to be a coin. And if you're a coin worth 0, you're prunable. And so to me, my favorite section in the white paper is the pruning section because I love it, right? I want everything pruned.
There's got to be one of you, right?
Yeah, it's one of me, yeah. I'm a one-man army at this point, but I think I'm going to find some converts because pruning makes the internet better. Think about when you search on Google and you search for something like popdiping, which is like I think it's a Welsh slang word for microwave oven, right? Now, only they know it. But if you look this up on Google, there's like 27 million returns. What are you going to do with all that? It's a total waste, right? Yeah. You're lucky if you get past the first 10 after you look at all the ads, right? But you don't need all that. And so what you want is a system that economically incentivizes the bad stuff to go away. And we have this in real estate. If you have a nice building and it's doing great and it has all these wonderful people in it, and they're making the neighborhood nicer by spreading out their economics to the neighborhood, and then you have a tenement next door, the tenement's actually bringing down the neighborhood value. So what you do with that tenement, it has one thing of value underneath it, the land, right?
Yeah.
And the land's great because the other rest of the neighborhood's made that land very valuable. It's in a good neighborhood. And so what do? Is you take down the tenement and you put up another giant building. But the land is kind of like the STAS token. It's like, or BSV itself, but specifically the STAS token, because if you're taking up a little bit of space, then it's a little bit different than a false return that you don't care about, and it can get pruned. And so if you really are going to run around saying that your data is on the blockchain, it's on the blockchain maybe if the miner doesn't prune you.
Sure.
But if you put it on a coin, that's your decision. There's nobody can take that off the blockchain but you. And that is the power of Bitcoin, in my opinion.
Well, it's fascinating. I think it's a really simple but deep way to look at the opportunity here. And as we look at the opportunity, you have a company, SLictionary, and how does one use SLictionary to create that dividend? I think that's what we're getting. You know, we've been talking tech a little bit, which I tell everybody not to. Let's talk business. I feel like you're the business guy to talk about it. So how the heck does SLictionary help me earn a dividend?
Yeah, so if you like real estate, you know that you could build your own house or your own skyscraper, right? It'd take you a really long time. It's kind of nice to have other experts do that for you. And so what you do is you put the money up and you say, I know what I like and I gave you a little bit of an idea, but build this and build it here, and other people take over and they kind of build this great thing for you. And we're the same in SLictionary, but our building, which is a business with cash flows and it gets rent, our definitions have rent because the people who come in looking for the knowledge are paying you a little bit of money, right? So it's like a little house, and you walk up to the house and say, hey, I need to know what oxymoron means. And the little guy comes out of the house and he explains it to you perfectly, right? And you give him a little penny and you go away. But he keeps getting more people to his house to do that. And so in real estate, it's like you have this rent that keeps coming into your apartment building, and in SLictionary, the way you do that is you put up a bounty. And if you put up about $2, that gives me enough money that I can slip some of that $2 at like a substrate underneath your token. And I'm gonna put as much under there as I can, right? We take a little tiny fee, but we give most of it to the creative who writes the definition. So he gets most of the bounty, but we put about 10% into your substrate token, and that forces that economic decision. And the thing is, if your building's making rent, you don't tear it down.
Correct.
It's simple as that.
Very, very cool. So from a basic sense, SLictionary is a incentivized dictionary.
Oh yeah.
Crowdsourced. This is the idea.
Communal.
Communal, yeah. I don't know about that word.
Well, it's its own ecosystem.
Sure.
Really. Yeah. So the thing is, it's like I think of it like a minor league or a major league team that has minor league teams like baseball. And the great thing about the guy who invented, there's a guy who kind of brought, I think he was the Cardinals, and he brought in minor league teams. And his concept was simple. Oh, this guy's got the great resume, and he's really strong looking. He must be good, so put him right on the major league team. And this guy was like, no. Form another league with all kinds of guys like that, including people who we don't think are any good, and let them just compete it out. The guys who rise to the top, they go to the major leagues, right? And so I think the Cardinals won like a couple pennants, and then everybody had a minor league team.
Yeah.
We have a minor league team that's called Word Bounty. So you come to Word Bounty and you go for these bounties, and that's kind of like it's like a sugar fix, right? You get a quick payoff, and if you're good at it, you have a little poetic nature to you, or you have a good voice for the pronunciations. You come back because you got a high batting average. Maybe you don't win every bounty, but if you win maybe 10% of them and the bounties are for $50 or $20, hey, you're forming a little bit of a business there. And remember, you can also define any time you want on your own. You don't need to just go for bounties, and then you own the definition, and therefore you get paid in perpetuity.
It seems like the business model that Wikipedia should have put into place.
Bingo. Shh, we don't want them to know about us yet.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So if you were to get a big offer from the Wikipedia folks, what would it look like, an exit, or would it look like a partnership?
You mean if they wanted to acquire us?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, I think they're a nonprofit, and one of the reasons. Well, I don't know how much I want to say, but I don't think we're a business that needs an exit in terms of an acquisition. I can't envision that happening because we have so many horizontal directions to go, and you sort of are touching on it here. You know, dictionary looks a lot like something else, and I think there's about 8 other things that I can think of right away where our platform goes right there. So it's like
Sure.
Jeff Bezos probably looked a little silly in '97. They're just like, all you do is books? Okay. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh, then they do CDs. Oh, and then they do software. Oh, and then Amazon Web Services. And it just keeps getting broader. And I'd like to give that a shot before I.
So, I mean, really anything that's like competitively crowdsourced, rather, it seems like you could start to put a hand into and really start to do some disrupting. I don't want to reveal your whole business model here, but
we got a lot of things we got to do before we have this conversation, Kurt. We have a lot of proving to do. We're not.
Do we have an NDA under the table? I'm curious.
No, I mean I'm being coy, but it's gonna take a lot of work in so many different directions. I mean, UI work, fixing up bugs. We got to probably raise another round because we're gonna need more people, and we think speed's gonna be important because. Our idea is, if you have a really technical business in Bitcoin, you're a little safer because you can kind of speak your engineer speak, and everybody's like, I don't even know what that guy's talking about, much less compete with him. But what we're doing, it's obvious to everyone right away. It's like, oh, it's an incentive model. I get that. Now, it's really tricky to think of it and come up with the model. That's the hard part. But it's almost like a hash, right? It's easy to go one way and hard to go the other. Once I tell you that bounties work, you're like, oh, what can I bountyize? This is a whole new thing. And then all of a sudden we have a zillion competitors, right? And it was the same thing with Amazon. It's like, oh, they're doing well with books. And then CD Now, which is in my neck of the woods, came out and did CD.
I forgot about CD Now.
CD
That's
Now,
awesome.
right? And DVD Express, remember them? And that's the thing is, I think it's a little bit like that, but we have a few tricks up our sleeve, so I'm not too worried, but we got to have a success in dictionary first. We got a long ways to go.
For sure. Yeah, I love a real utility opportunity for NFTs because I think we just had Eric on talking about FabriikX and art. And everybody's treating NFTs as this backbone for art.
Right.
And you mentioned it too in your speech, but there's so many other things that work really well with a digital twin and provable ownership. Where did that come from for you? And we got about 2 minutes left here before we got to cut out. But what else are people missing with NFTs? Where would you tell them to go? Where should they look for gold?
I think you should get out of crypto land and go do something. I have the advantage of age, and none of this existed, right? So my perspective is always the real world keeps showing up no matter which technology you adopt. It's just a little bit different in how you execute it. So what I would say is get some experience somewhere else that you're passionate about, and then figure out, go ahead and take our ideas and take the technical guys and put them all together and add it to the thing that you love and make it better. And it's just that simple. I mean, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You just need to look at BSV or STAS tokens or whatever you're looking at that's the tech and say, how can that fit in my world and make it a little bit better? And that's all I'm doing.
Absolutely. Where can we find SLictionary? Is it SLictionary.com?
Yep, SLictionary.com and /word bounty to get to where you can make the money. And we're going to start putting buttons around the main search page so you can find things easier. We didn't have time for that. We have to do the heavy lifting STAS stuff first. But right now, it's a button on the upper looks like an old tombstone for a Western bounty of sorts. Like you're going to nail Jesse James. And if you press that, it takes you to word bounty. And all you have to do to define a word is click it, and it takes you right to the
Love it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
there you go.
Thank you, Jack. Everybody, this has been CoinGeek TV, the lunch edition. You should join us in a few hours for CoinGeek TV, the evening edition that'll happen right at the end of day 2 at CoinGeek Conference. If you want to tune in, check out the virtual experience. CoinGeekConference.com is still rocking and rolling, or you can share from YouTube across all of social media. Let your friends know what we're doing in the BSV blockchain space with NFTs and man, everything else. tell you right now, it's about time that you get BSV on your radar with CoinGeekConference.com. I'm Wuckert Jr. from CoinGeek TV. See you soon.
Reimagine the world's financial system. One built on being simple and fair, not one that's overcomplicated, outdated, and broken, and keeps a quarter of the world's population from accessing it. Reimagine your own finances. Do you have full visibility and control of your assets and investments? We believe there's a better way, a new future for financial services. One built on equal opportunity, where possibilities are limitless, not limited, and everyone can live the life to which they aspire. At Fabriik, we're weaving a better future of finance for the billions locked out and the billions locked in. A safe, open, and fully transparent financial ecosystem built on innovative technology, where anyone can transform, hold, trade, and grow their assets, all in one accessible place. But this journey isn't ours to take alone. Are you ready to join in? To reimagine a better future with us? Where everything is digital and anything is possible. Fabriik. Reimagine prosperity.
Data is double-edged. Wield it well and build your place in tomorrow. But trust it blindly and risk watching your progress crumble. Because much of the data we rely upon isn't reliable at all. At nChain, we believe in data, but we put no faith in it. Instead, we build tools that enable enterprises to trust the data upon which they rely. nChain, data without question.
Imagine in 1997 paying for something with your watch. Remember the last time you used cash? The world has been digitized. Almost.
Cash was once seen as the last bastion for reform, but now is on the decline. Digital transactions have outcompeted hard currency since 2017 in the UK, but breakthrough bold technologies like blockchain have revolutionized more than just money.
Disruptive technologies call for disruptive lawyers, ones that don't just accept the trend, but find new ways of interpreting the law. We are currently the only global law firm with a real track record in the area of Bitcoin and blockchain. We are results-driven and care only about securing the best possible result for our clients.
We trace the supposedly untraceable. We pioneer the future of law. We deliver new solutions. We are law changers.